Film Review, movies, music, culture, politics, society podcast, interviews, movie reviews, and more. Live Sundays at 5:30 p.m. on Facebook at Crazon Dion.
Hey everybody, this is Lunell, the original bad girl of comedy. I'm here at the Link Promenade in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada, and you're watching the Film Review.
What's going on, people? What's going on, people? Do we have a great show for you today? Do we have a great show? It's jam-packed. This is the Film Review, movies, music, culture, politics, and society podcast. We are the husband and wife team. I'm Crazy D.
I'm Tracey.
And we review movies, music, culture, politics, and society. And welcome to the 93rd and 94th episode. Let me make sure we put that up so you can see that. The 93rd and 94th episode of the Film Review. So without further ado, let me ask you, how was your week?
It was a very interesting week, politics-wise.
Yeah,
as well as, gosh, so many people have passed away.
So many.
Bringing
the
in
Film
the
Review.
New Year.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's cold outside.
Yes, it's very cold. Very cold. Say that again. For sure. All right, people. So, you know, this week has been very interesting, just like my wife said.
Yeah.
For all of those who have faith in the music, recording labels, and the publishing labels, we received some disturbing news this week that Tencent, which is a Chinese tech company, is going to, or has already purchased 10% of the Universal Music Group catalog. All right?
Okay.
10% of the Universal Music Group catalog. Now, I don't know what they're going to use it in. They're a tech company. Maybe they're going to use it in video games or whatnot. But myself as an artist, I would really think and say, I would really say, you know, here's a Chinese company, a tech company, taking 10% of what I do. How come we as artists can't get together, pool our money, and buy 10% or 20% or 30% of the full catalog of Universal, right?
Right.
How come we can't do that?
Right.
And so it's really disturbing, especially when you know that there's war games going on between 3 different countries, and America is nowhere in it.
Yeah.
And you know, while this whole merger went on with the music industry, Trump has that, you know, still has the sanctions, not sanctions, but the tariffs on China.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so, I mean, it's really weird that these things will be happening, and people really need to think this out, right?
Yeah.
Julian Castro dropped out of the 2020 presidential race, right?
Yeah.
Now, he was the only Latino in the race.
Right.
And my question is, where's all the Latinos and Latinas? Where are the Mexicans?
Okay.
Where are the different people who may like Mexicans, who are other Latin speaking, more other Hispanic type people, more Latin people? Where are the Cubans? Where are the Dominicans? Where, you know, where are they?
You're saying that they should have pushed.
They should have been behind Castro.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Because you interviewed his brother.
Yeah, Joaquin.
Right.
I
That was a
interviewed
great
Joaquin.
interview.
Yes, it was a great interview.
Yeah.
But I don't know, but I think it was a mistake not to come in and interview. With the Film Review, the presidential candidate, like I interviewed his brother, and I got information about who his brother was. Right? But we really don't know who Julian Castro is, other than he was the secretary in President Obama's, secretary of something in President Obama's cabinet, right? Which goes to show that popularity-wise, maybe Obama was just picking him to have a diverse,
Right.
now I'm using the word diverse
Right.
purposely, cabinet, and not a multicultural cabinet.
Okay.
He did to have a diverse cabinet
Mm-hmm.
and not necessarily a multicultural cabinet because his own people don't know him.
Right. Yeah.
The Mexican people don't know him enough
Right.
to even rally behind him.
Right.
So, what are the Democrats doing? But we're going to get to that, right? We're going to get to that in our main topic. Okay.
Right.
Netanyahu
Okay.
asked the Israeli parliament for
Mhm.
immunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is he going to be doing? Snitching on his people? I'm just trying to figure out the people who were higher up who were instrumental in causing dissension between
Mm-hmm.
Israel and the Palestinians. Is he going to be snitching now? He's asking for immunity. He's going to be getting up on the stand and throwing other people under the bus.
Right.
That's
We'll
how
see.
power is corrupting, right?
Right.
We had a disturbing situation, and we're glad that we were not watching this channel
Oh.
on New Year's
Yeah, Steve
Eve,
Harvey.
right?
Yeah.
Steve Harvey and Gronkowski, right?
Right.
He played for the Patriots, who are
Right.
now they're not going to the Super Bowl. How about that?
Okay.
They're not.
And he's
even-
what, a former Patriot,
He's a
right?
former Patriot lineman. Something that I didn't keep up with him
Okay.
because I thought all that dancing around and
Mhm.
acting like he was dancing around. I thought all that was just cooning
Right.
on his part. He might as well have just thrown on some blackface
Right.
and started acting like Al Jolson. That's what I thought. So
Right.
automatically from that, I was like, no, I don't like this dude
Right.
because he's cooning.
Well, it looked like your instincts about him were right, because look at what he did to Steve Harvey.
Look at what he did to Steve Harvey. For those who don't know what he did to Steve Harvey,
Rude.
his co-host had
Rude.
presented a
Right.
bust made out of Legos.
Right.
And Steve Harvey had even marveled at it. You know how
Yeah.
many brown Legos you had to find? I
Right.
mean, and it really looked like Steve Harvey. It was
Yeah,
something
it's
that
real
he
nice.
was going to be able to put on his mantelpiece
Right.
and say, this is something that someone
Right.
did for me because they honored me on New Year's Eve,
Right.
going from 2019
Right.
to 2020.
Right.
And here this guy is, he gets up there
Right.
and picks the bust up
Right.
and totally destroys, takes it
And how
and spikes
old is
it.
this man again? He's not a teenager.
No,
he's not a
teenager.
kid.
No, not at all.
I mean, he's got to be in his 30s or
Late 30s probably. Yes, 30s.
like that was wild.
yeah. Wild is being mild.
No class.
No class
Right.
whatsoever.
Right.
So he takes it and he spikes it, and you know, for those who are Gronkowski fans, he's known for spiking in the
Okay.
end zone because sometimes he would intercept the ball
Right.
and run it in for the touchdown, or
Right.
sack the person, get the ball away from him, and run him in for the touchdown and all that. Right. So
Right.
that's what he was known for.
Yeah.
However, this is a disturbing situation because for people who are black historians
Yeah.
and understand black iniquity and Egypt and how different leaders who were European went in after
Right.
the dynasties had ended
Right.
and decided that they would deface
Yeah.
and destroy
Right.
what was obviously
Right.
black.
And chopping
right?
off the nose of the
Shooting
snakes.
off the noses,
Right.
chiseling out the noses.
Right.
Even so much is now today that when they restore it, they make sure that they restore it
Right.
lighter skin,
Right.
so it could possibly be the Ottoman Turks that are sitting in Egypt right now, who are not the original Egyptians, right?
Right.
So the original Egyptians, they say, are the ones who are in Sudan today. You travel down to the Sudan, you will see the original
Kind of
Egyptians
like
there.
what regentrification.
Regentrification.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the same thing playing
Same
on.
thing
And
all
so,
throughout the world. Right?
so for Gronkowski to pick it up and throw it down, it was like frat boy
so
type stuff.
disrespectful.
But then you can see the callousness and lack of caring,
Right.
and you can say that, hey, that's just like how they were when they were over in Egypt, just blowing things up because they thought they could.
I mean, and to do something like that to anyone, let alone Steve Harvey, that's just like, let's say if an athlete, right, had stepped on Bob Hope's stage,
right,
and destroyed his likeness.
Right.
You know, because Steve Harvey is a legend, well respected.
He's
been in the game for years. And to do something like that to him was totally disrespectful. And then this man is what, 30-something years old, damn near 40?
Yeah, damn near 40. He's going into what you could call has-been, my opinion, has-been status.
Clearly, right?
And so he's worried about being a has-been.
Okay, well,
right?
That didn't help because it made him look like a loser.
A loser, right?
No class.
No class, right?
Right.
So that leads us into one of our topics for tonight, but our main intro into this show today, which is why Trump will be reelected the 45th president of the United States, right? Now, this pains us to have to say this, right? Because I could tell you, I've known some people who are black who have voted Republican in their time. I have never voted Republican ever in my life, ever. And some of the people who talk some of the most pro-black stuff will be will sit up and act like they are down for the cause, right? But we're going to
vice versa, right? Some of the people who are so-called liberals, right, are sit back and watch so many atrocities happen to people of other races, and they sit back and say nothing, but yet, you know, they claim they love animals so much, like with Mike Vick, right? Mm-hmm. So they just like they still won't forgive him.
Still won't forgive him.
Right. And it's funny because I was watching Wendy Williams maybe 2 weeks ago, and Wendy had a panel. Mm-hmm. And the Jussie Smollett topic came up, and I can't remember the woman's name because, you know, Wendy, she'll have like different like maybe
people come on.
Reporters or journalists, and I can't remember this woman's name because she's not on there often. Mm-hmm. But so she didn't want to forgive it. You know, they was talking about the time to forgive Jussie Smollett. And the black guy that was on the panel said, hey, yes, time to move on.
Time to move on.
Right. And so I think the Caucasian woman, I can't think of her name, and she said no to forgiving Jussie Smollett. Right. But then the topic came up with, I think her name is Camila Caballo. She used to be in that group, I think, with Fifth Dimension. Okay. She made a lot of racist tweets against Asians, blacks, just rude, nasty comments, right, about Asian and black people. Okay. So this woman, the same woman who didn't want to forgive Jussie Smollett, wanted to forgive Camilla's racist tweets. Mm-hmm. So I just found that interesting.
I'm going to say what's up to Shanine. She said Klanskowski needs to be arrested.
Oh, she said Klanskowski.
That's what she said. She called him Klanskowski. Needs to be arrested, right? So look, people. This brings us to a topic because Donald Trump, why he's going to be reelected 45th president of the United States of America. On January 1st, 2019, we discussed this. This was a whole year ago. And that came up on the social media page, right? And I reposted it because a year ago in 2019, we discussed why he would be reelected. And this hurts us, you know, to have to say this, but this is fact. And we're going to go back and look at and talk about what we said. Well, we're not going to go back and talk about what we said. We're just going to expand upon what we said because it has gotten worse.
Right.
And we're in 2020 now, which is the year of election for the president to be sworn in January 2021.
Were people really, really surprised? Because think about it. Like, when Donald Trump was running for office, right? How many people did we see wearing those hats in the stores? A lot, right? People had his the Donald Trump. What are those, like the little things on the line?
Yeah, the lawn placards. Yeah.
Right. They had it on their bumper stickers.
Right.
Right. So it wasn't surprising, and so people, they go on television, and when they're polled, they'll say one thing, right?
They'll say one
because
thing.
we worked on the campaign before and made phone calls, and they tell you what you want to hear, or they think you want to hear on the phone, right? But when they go behind that booth, when it's time to vote, they vote another way. So you can't believe the pollsters, and you can't. People are so hypocritical.
Yeah, you can't believe what they say, because they're going to tell you one thing, but then they're going to go out and do something totally different. So what can you say? What can you do but move forward? So people, look. There was the snit on the wall, but now we have undoubtedly. Last time in 2019, it was just throwing snit on the wall and seeing what would stick. But now in 2020, we have undoubted truths here right now that are the reasons why Trump is going to be reelected in 2020 to be sworn in as the 25th president, getting a 45th president, getting a second term in being sworn in January 21, right? So we're going to go through this. This isn't like one of our lists, like what we talk about where it goes 5 to 1. I'm just going through and just basically pushing all of the reasons why he's going to be reelected, right? So number 1 on the list, as I do some population here, real quick, as we go through, real quick. So number 1 on the list is the Dems don't have a good candidate. Biden, Bernie, Deval Patrick is going to be stepping up. And then Bloomberg. I will give Bloomberg credit. He has a lot of money. That Christmas ad where they had the little Christmas music going and it was the front of the White House, and he was like, last time it was poor vision, but this time it's 2020. That was clever. That was good, and it had the jingle bells in it and the snow falling in front of the White House. That was clever. However, Bloomberg has been apologizing too much for what he's done. He wants it too much. If it's anything that Trump has taught us in this time is, you don't apologize for doing what you thought at the time was right. You don't apologize for that. You say, this is the way it is, take it or leave it, criticize it, but this is the way it is.
Yeah, but when you're doing something because it's right, you stand behind it. But when you do something based on, just saying, what was it, the frisk?
Your political, stop and frisk.
Stop and frisk.
What you thought would be good for your political.
When you choose to do something, in my opinion, based on a prejudice view that you may have regarding a group of people, hey, I mean, and you expect those people to vote for you? That's a joke. Like, seriously?
So he's apologizing and saying that puts him out. Deval Patrick, like we talked about before, Charlemagne on the Breakfast Club ate him and spit him out. He's not ready. Bernie, he was good last time, but he won't talk about reparations at all. And what he did say about reparations was no one will go for that. That was his last time running. So we know what he thinks this time, right? And then we have Joe Biden.
Wait a minute before you move on. I'm a little confused. Isn't Bernie Sanders? Isn't he Jewish? I thought.
Yes.
And didn't Jewish black people receive reparations.
They sure did.
But he doesn't feel foundational black Americans should receive reparations.
Or he feels that the people wouldn't know how to go about doing it.
Okay. Well, what's the next candidate?
I mean, the next one, the next one is good old Joe. I mean, all these people are
Joe
pretty
Biden.
old. Joe
Okay.
Biden. Now, Joe Biden, to me, just watching
Was
him
he
on
part of the 3 strikes?
Yeah, he was. But Joe Biden, just
Okay,
looking
next.
at,
No.
wait a minute. Looking at Joe Biden,
Okay.
he can't talk his way
Okay.
out of a paper bag. Plus, they have him on his son's on that stuff he was doing with his son. They got him dead to rights on that. I mean, like they kept pushing it in the cycle to where the media has finally picked it up.
Okay.
You know, the talking head media finally picked it up, right?
Okay.
It's like they got him dead to rights to that. And how do you answer that? Here are people who are struggling to get ends meet, and then you put a guy in, you put your son into place through your
connections, and through your power as vice president, right? Or
you put him in a position that he is not qualified.
Is this the same son that was accused of the drug use?
Yeah, being a toka. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the
he
same one.
He was accused for using a crack, I believe.
That's right, being a toka.
And this is the one that he gave the position.
That's right.
He got
no. He didn't give it. He got them to give him the position.
He used his power as vice president to get his son. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So here we are. We're sitting here looking at this, and they have him dead to rights on that, and even the media had to pick it up and say that this smells to high heaven, right?
Okay.
So
the candidates aren't looking good. Who's next?
That's it, because they say Elizabeth Warren is pretty much at the end of her situation. She's losing in the polls, so there's really nothing going on with her.
Okay, so it just seems like the American people across the board are not happy with any of the candidates.
With any of the candidates on the Democrat side, right?
Right. And America is a melting pot, right? So it looks like all people, American people, whether they're black or Asian or Latinos, just seems like none of them like any of the candidates. Well, Andrew Yang is still standing, right? Mm-hmm. They say he's doing well.
Yeah, he's doing well, but look, there's certain unknowns about going with Andrew Yang.
Okay.
I left him out of there.
Is Cory Booker running still?
Yeah, but Cory Booker is on his end. Like we were talking about getting him interviewed, and the questions. My questions, I don't believe are tough.
Right.
But they are balanced and fair questions that are based on the black experience and wanting answers from someone who would be representing the black experience as a person running for president. So he's out, but with Yang, I mean, what he speaks on sounds good, but then when he was on the Breakfast Club again, it was Charlemagne. It was Charlemagne and Envy who had him on his bicycle trying to try to get through the maze on the unicycle. Okay. Because it was certain things he would go back, he would change the subject, but Charlemagne and Envy would bring him back. Okay. And so the questions were never really answered. Okay. To what he would do. Everything that these candidates talk about is for everybody. Everybody, except for when you get to LGBTQIR A through Z rights. Or you get to, when you get to that, then all of a sudden it's simple. Or when you get to illegal immigration, then it's only for 2 sets of people. Because everyone else won't profit from that. Right? It won't gain anything from that. It's going to be a loss, but we're going to get to that. Number 2 on why Donald J. Trump is going to be reelected, 45th president to have a second term. Republicans are getting everything they ever wanted.
He's keeping his promises to his base.
He's keeping the promises to the base.
Right.
Right? It's like they're getting everything.
Right.
Shanine said, throw the whole government out. I had a guy tell me he didn't like Trump but was voting Republican anyways. You see that? That's the dichotomy of it all is he doesn't like Donald Trump, but he's got to like something about Donald Trump to be voting for Republicans, right? So
pickings are slim.
Number 3, the Democrat Party is a weak party. It doesn't know what it stands for. The Democrat Party does not know what it stands for.
Right.
So it teeter-totters.
It's like their message is all over the place.
The message is all over the place. They're talking about that the working class person, they're still talking about Steady Joe and the lunch pail. The lunch
pail. How many years has that been since Joe Biden had a lunch pail? I mean,
but the 1950s.
I don't think we were even born.
That's the 1950s. As it got into the 60s, the working class changed because it moved from out of factories as it came into the 70s and 80s and moved more into service industry. So most of the people who are working the service industry jobs are black women and black men. Right? And so they're working these service industry jobs, so you are not talking to the same people. Those generations are older and they are passing on. How many people do we hear about passing on this week? The guy who sung I'm Just a Bill, yes, I'm only a bill, right? He in conjunction, junction, what's your function on Schoolhouse? He passed on. He was 88. Those people who had the lunch pails, they are passing on. We're talking about a service industry in the hotels. We're talking about because there's not much infrastructure. There's not much infrastructure going on. And we're talking about fast food and retail.
Well, that's just like, whenever on a Breakfast Club, any of the candidates, Envy or Charlemagne would address the issues as as far as asking them, what is your agenda for the African American community or the foundational Black American community, right? And nobody had an answer, right?
No one has an answer.
I mean, they skipped and danced around it, but I don't understand how you would go on a Breakfast Club and talk to these people and not even have an agenda for their community is just like
you said
crazy
it. You said it exactly right. They said we're gonna go on here and talk to these people, and we're gonna talk about all boats rise together with the tide rising, and no, right? Number 4, black unemployment is down. Went down once Trump started clamping down on illegal immigration, which the Dems support illegal immigration, which harms black people's work opportunity. So, Barbara Jordan in the Jordan Report told us back in the 90s that immigration period was a problem for black people, and it should be streamed down and toned down until black people were able to go in and get their rightful places. Right?
So is that one of the reasons why Trump might get in again? Because unemployment is down now for Latinos as well as Black Americans. Because I know of many Latinos who are voting for Trump. So that's what makes this election kind of up for grabs.
But that's the whole point about Julian Castro not being able to get any traction, because it's one thing, we talked about it last week on last week's show, just in passing of talking about the studios and filming and being on sets and things. And we're in Las Vegas, and the Mexicans don't like each other. They got this light skin, dark skin thing going on. They got some who wanted their people to only know English, and so there's a whole class thing going on and a race thing because of color of skin. And you know, they talk about crabs in bucket. We talked about this last week. Go back and listen to last week's show after this, because we broke it really down for you with our guest last week. But they really don't like each other, and that is the perfect example. Castro was not known by his people. Joaquin Castro told me that he grew up in a bubble. And so he didn't really see the racism until after he came from out the bubble and went off to college. So they have a cocoon and a bubble, but it's something going on there, right? And so this is what it is. So the Dems support immigration so much that they are at the border when Trump kept them from coming across the border. The people coming from the countries and not Peru, but over there in South America, coming across into Mexico to cross over the border. He told them stay there, and then they support that so much that they would push for these illegals to come over into the country instead of going through the naturalization process, which takes a few years to do.
So is that it? To me, it feels like that is definitely the disconnection with the Democrats, because when people see Trump, they see him as Trump is constantly saying he's pro-American, right? And so, but when you listen to the Democrats, people are hearing Democrats say they're more so for people who are not Americans, who are not Americans yet, right? So they're pro focusing on the immigrants, and they're not pro their constituents in their community, right? So I think that's the disconnect. So that makes all of the Americans feel like, okay, well, what the heck is going on with politics, where all you politicians are not even looking out for the people in your community, because there are a huge homeless community, right? And then you have people, children, as well, who are hungry, right? So there's so many issues in this country that the Democrats aren't focusing on, and they're looking outside of the country, focusing on immigrants who are they're not Americans yet. They haven't even went through the process yet.
They haven't even gone through the paces to be
an
American.
It's kind of weird with the Democrats.
It's really weird. It's really weird.
So that's what opens up the door for Trump to win. And
it appears that they're bringing them over to be a new workforce to replace the workforce that should be here.
Exactly. So that makes the white Americans that are here, the black Americans that are here, the Latino Americans, the Asian Americans that are all here and that work hard every day, and they're struggling, right? And they feel like the only person that's listening to them is Trump, because the Democrats are focusing on immigrants who are not Americans yet and focus on bringing them into the country, and not focusing on their constituents who put them in office.
And even Biden said on the campaign trail that immigrants are the wave of the future, so get used to it. That's the way it is.
So for Biden to say that, then he's totally disrespecting
the whole groups of
the group of people who are here, right? So it's just like, instead of figuring out something for everyone, right, and working a plan that's better all across the board, and working on a immigration program to bring people in the country legally. Like, why wouldn't the Democrats want to, like what's going on that show? What is it? The Housewives of New Jersey, right? one of the ladies on the show, Teresa, her husband was deported, right?
Sure was.
So her husband came here as a little boy, but his parents never naturalized him, right? So why aren't the Democrats focusing on naturalizing the people who have been here for years, right?
Instead of bringing over.
It's just like, I don't understand.
But again, once Trump started cutting down and clamping down on the illegal immigration,
right?
And then when people were being deported from those factories, who took over those factory jobs?
Right.
Black people. Black unemployment is down. So that makes you look at that party that we have traditionally been loyal to and say, hey,
what have they done for you lately?
What have they done for us lately? Because when there's job opportunities, then crime goes down because there are job opportunities. So these are just facts, people. These are facts. When you look at it, that's the way it is.
So just like all around the board, it's kind of twisted to me. Like, it's just like, okay, so why didn't the Democrats, help this woman, Teresa, on the show, who her husband, of all intents and purposes, is American. He paid taxes, right? So why aren't the Democrats helping the people here in this country as well? Why are they focusing on
the people in this country first?
Right.
Instead of working with somebody else who are not American citizens. Number 5.
Right.
The media is in on Trump's win. The media is in on Trump's win. And what do we mean by that?
They focus on him.
They triple down on the ridicule. Reporting on Trump with laughing talking heads. Like when you turn on Fox, they're sitting there and they are serious. They are not laughing. They are putting across, and they come fair and balanced, because even though the opposing party or the opposing person gets on there and gets hammered, their viewpoint gets out there. On places like with the talking heads, they sit up there and they just laugh and talk, and they have people that come on like an echo chamber, and they keep talking the same things, and then they start believing the same things. Well, Trump is going psychotic because of what's happening. Trump is seems like he's unstable. Trump seems sick. Did you hear what he said at the last thing? Ha ha ha, he. But guess what? The people behind him and in the audience were clapping. The people who are his base were clapping, and then more people are looking at it like everything that they say and have said is wrong. We said this way back after he was elected the first time, that going about it and talking about him and laughing at him and talking about grabbing this and he's immoral, that's not going to work.
The media, I believe, they are manipulating the public, because like right now, like before our show started, I believe it was CNN has a 2-part special tonight about Trump, and then I've seen MSNBC do that too. So they dedicate so much time to Trump, and actually, they don't even cover the news. I mean, hell, Fox covers everything,
And you had to switch over because you're like, I'm getting tired of hearing nothing but 365. When you turn on, like we weren't Fox watchers, and we're still not. But we say, God, man, these channels.
So you flick through the channel, what else is
and then
on?
You get there, and then there's Fox with a human interest story.
You know.
And you're like, wait a minute. And then they come with a couple of more stories. Then they talk about Trump. Then they have guests. Then they bring another human interest story stuff, and then they talk about what's going on around the world.
Like old news used to be.
The old news used to
be.
The news like I said, Rachel
ago.
Used to be so educational. She would teach you something. All it is now is a steady diet of Trump, and it is not working. Right? Number 6. Which we alluded to a little earlier. The Dems are relying on the Latinos and Latinas to vote Democrat. But Latins, especially Cubans, vote Republican. they haven't been in the trenches long enough, but they do see who is on the winning side.
Right.
Plus, it might have to do something. Cuba might have to do something with Carter and Carter, let him, and all this stuff. Go back and research that,
Okay.
But they traditionally vote Republican.
Yeah.
They're not voting. Democrats are coming over here to make them a ready-made workforce to replace a black workforce, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And the people who they're bringing over here are not voting for them, and then they're basically shunning and trying to turn out and turn away from the people who traditionally vote 98, 99% Democrat.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I think that ship has sailed.
Yeah, I think it has too.
Okay.
Number 7.
Okay.
Trump has continued to meet with the pastors.
Okay.
The black pastors that everybody made fun of in the beginning. But due to them seemingly not being able to deliver votes, he doesn't have to or want to do for a constituency that doesn't want to come to the table.
Okay.
That's why Omarosa was kicked out, because she couldn't deliver. She couldn't deliver. So you're supposed to be the black liaison, but you can't deliver anything but the preacher. So we went online, right? We went online and brought down the 10-point plan because we had to read it, because the preachers had said that Trump had a 10-point plan, and some of this has been implemented. The stuff about the historically black colleges, the HBCUs, a lot of that has been implemented, and he has been giving money to the HBCUs.
And then we learned about this from watching T. West on Afrosynergy.
That's right.
Right, and then he had he had it up, and he discussed the black pastors.
Right.
In their plan, and
but so people were ridiculing at the time, right?
Right.
So one thing about this plan, though, it's number 1 on here. There's some concerning things on here, and this is where I think great education through school choice. We will allow every disadvantaged child in America to attend the public, private, charter, magnet, religious, or home school of their choice. The key phrase there is every disadvantaged child, but this is supposed to be the 10-point plan for African Americans, but we're talking about every disadvantaged child. That's trickery in the words there, because every disadvantaged child, every disadvantaged black child, put black in there. Other than that, you're saying every disadvantaged child of whatever race that they are. So there's some things in here. We will also ensure funding for historic black colleges and universities. They did that. More affordable 2- and 4-year college, and support for trade and vocational education. Now that is very good, because everyone is not ready, but trade and vocational, mostly they're going to teach you what you forgot by having an emphasis on college. They're going to train you on what you forgot, because you actually built this, boy. And so, the infrastructure needs people who are in the trades to build it, right? Bricklayers,
plumbers,
carpenters,
painters.
Surveyors, right? So I mean, it needs all these things that we already knew how to do, and built this boy, and so it'll come back. So let me see what else. So the one thing about every disadvantaged child, that was concerning. See, when we talk these things, you have to be able to bring and be able to read. We have to read what they were saying. They were ridiculing the preachers, but they seem to have come with something else.
Because they had a plan.
Yeah, they had a plan. What was our plan to what was the plan of the people who were talking anti-Trump? Just not to talk to him? We're coming up on a time where this man will be reelected.
Right.
And you mean to tell me that people are not are not working to speak to him, because once he gets reelected, he doesn't have to talk to you at all.
Right.
I mean, it's really ridiculous. Politics is about talking and coming to an understanding, which is sometimes called compromise without being compromised.
For the Democratic the Democratic politicians who say that they respect and they follow Martin Luther King, not too good in following his ways, because Martin Luther King sat down with both Republicans and Democrats.
Well, sure. Martin Luther King was a Republican.
Right. So,
people switched over to the Democrat Party after Nixon was practicing benign neglect, which he would later really practice once he became president. But he practiced benign neglect, and Kennedy was willing to pick up the phone and pull the necessary levers to get King free. And once they said that he did that for King, then everyone switched over. So we may be looking at a new switch over that's coming, right? Okay. Safety is civil rights. This is number 2, right? Safe communities. That's what they say. So this is what they've been talking about as far as Chicago. But it says in here, remove the gang members, drug dealers, and criminal cartels from our neighborhoods. The reduction of crime is not merely a goal, but a necessity. So, I mean, go ahead.
On MSNBC, they show, well, you know, like the end of the year wrap up, and they showed the different cities. They said that the crime rate, they said, went down in a lot of cities. They said it went down also a little in Chicago.
Right, because there are more job opportunities, because illegal immigration is automatically, it's a cause and effect, right? I mean, so this is just what it is. So we're just putting the facts out.
So when people are working, they don't have time to commit crimes, because they're not committing crimes to put food on the table and to pay their
they're committing crimes to put
what I'm saying is, when they have a job and they're working, they don't need to commit crimes to put food on the table, because they're working and they're putting, and the money is, and the job is bringing in money for. Do you know what I'm saying? So with jobs, of course, the crime is going to go down. People commit crimes for money and things that they need for their families. But if they have a job, there's no need for them to commit crime,
right? People think that people are kingpins and all that. All that is more
film.
1930. That's movies.
Right.
What people do it for. We saw the movie with James Cagney.
Okay, the Roaring 20s.
The Roaring 20s, which we're coming into again, people. Remember,
that movie was real. He was at the top and then he just fell flat on his face.
He came back from the military, World War I, and then he didn't have any, there were no job opportunities, but prohibition went into effect. Just like there's prohibition on weed right now.
Just like there were no job opportunities for, and he went into crime.
Went into crime. What would be crime? But as it developed, it was cool at first, but then other rival people want to come in and take what's yours, and then it turns into more of a gangster element, because everyone doesn't have the wherewithal to have their thing popping, so they want to take what your thing is, right? So that's what that is, and so that's what this story, the Roaring 20s, tells, right? We got a phone call. Let's see who this is real quick.
Yeah.
What's going on? You're on the line. Who we speaking with?
What's going on, y'all?
Who's this?
This is Bianchi.
Bianchi, hey, what's going on? How you doing? Long time no hear.
Hey, let me ask you something. Did you look up the ITIN? It's an article called "The American Dream: How Undocumented Immigrants Buy Homes in U.S." That's the article.
Okay.
I want y'all to read it. Write that down now.
I'm writing it down.
And you'll understand what's.
Say it one more time.
You understand about these. It's called The American Dream. How undocumented immigrants buy homes in the U.S. Now, you know undocumented immigrants is a sanitized word for illegals.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And read that article, you see that they use what's called the I-10 number. I-T-I-N is the number that the IRS give immigrants who can't get Social Security cards.
Okay.
That way they can keep up with their income, even though they're not supposed to be working anyway. But once they get an I-10 number, they can go to a bank, and the artist is going to talk about Citibank, and get home mortgages. And we're not talking about no 1, 2, or 3 dozen. We're talking about billions of dollars. Now, either one of y'all ever buy a house?
No, we don't want a house. We don't want a house.
Yeah.
No, I'm anti-house.
Okay,
He's anti-house.
You husband and wife?
Yeah.
Y'all husband and wife?
Yes.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Now, let me say this. Once you go to the realtor office and you sign at closing, you close it out, everything, they're going to give you papers that show that you are technically the owner of their property and that's your residence. These documents can take that paperwork and go to the election board and register to vote. Because the papers show that this is their house.
Okay.
Now, people was talking about how in the heck do illegals vote. Well, that's the way how they vote.
Oh, okay.
And they get driver's licenses. Now, black should be, like you were saying, black should be all up in arms over this stuff. Because I hear blacks complain about they can't get a house, but they can get a brand new car.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, here you got illegals that's getting home mortgages. And they also give them a credit card. Read that article, and y'all understand what I'm saying.
Okay.
And I agree with what you said about Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a good president. Donald Trump is doing exactly what he said he was going to do at his town hall meeting.
Right.
And people don't take advantage of him. And you talk about the education. If not, you can give historical black colleges all the money you want. You know what the problem is with them? The kids that's coming into these colleges can't carry the load because of the ratchet education system that they come from.
Right.
And that's why Donald Trump said that he is pro-school choice. Because that way, when you do have some parents who own their game, they can take their child out of those environments where they're not learning. And that would help increase the numbers of blacks in these high-paying professions.
It's funny. It's funny that you say that because our friend who passed on now, Franklin G. He came from out of the New York school system, and the New York school system looks for the best and the brightest, and they move them into different schools according to their aptitude level through their testing. So the New York school system is not the same as the rest of the United States. They go by, they place them into private schools, into charter schools, and into higher learning, middle school and higher learning, and then college aptitude schools according to their ability to take tests and pass these tests. So this is the model that should be put across the whole United States. Some people go into trade schools, others go into college prep schools. And so that's what we should be looking for through the testing.
You know whose responsibility it is, though, don't you? That's not the federal government's responsibility. That's the parents.
No, absolutely.
School district responsibility. Always remember that. Federal government may help if you ask it to, but that's not their responsibility. The responsibility is with the parents. Do y'all have children?
No, we didn't want children. We knew this time was coming.
No, we have tons of nieces and
nephews. Yeah.
All right, well, let me tell you what you want to do. I'm going to get off my subject here. Take your nieces and nephews. I don't know what grade. Give me one grade that one's in.
11th.
11th grade.
Yep.
That's a little late. But it's not too late. You got any in the earlier grade?
Oh, yeah.
If you got one in the 5th grade.
Kindergarten.
All right, this is what you want to do.
Okay.
Well, kindergarten a little early. But if you got one in the 5th grade or the 4th, you want to take that child and have them independently evaluated to see if they're actually doing the work that their school is saying they're doing. Okay. And you got companies like Sylvan. I know y'all have heard of that one.
Yes.
They'll do that, for a nominal fee. They would test that child and see if the child's actually doing 5th grade work. If the child ain't doing 5th grade work, then you're responsible to make it, put it where he or she's supposed to be. But you also can go to the school district and tell them, show them that paperwork, say you need to pay for this. Because you're saying that my child is doing 5th grade work and they actually doing 3rd grade work.
Right.
You know, that is so true. That is true. I'm just putting in this caveat here. That is so true because my mother took me early on to get tested as far as aptitude was concerned, and she was able to take those grades and get me into what was once called major work, which was during what was called junior high. Now it would be called middle school now, but it was junior high. And then from there, she was able to take my major work scores to a parochial school, and I didn't have to take the test because they looked at my grades and my testing from major work, which we were ahead. We were like doing 10th grade level work, and when I went into the 9th grade, I was going to the 9th grade, but we were actually doing 10th grade work in 9th grade work in the 8th grade. And when I got to 9th grade, I found myself in the same science and history book that I was in major work starting off, but I was able to get into that school without testing, and my mother was big on education and making sure that I got to where I was, myself and my sibling. So, I had the test scores and she got me in. So what you're saying, I know that to be true.
Yeah.
And another thing, put your nieces and nephews, take one, you don't have to take all of it, but you could steer them into high-paying professions.
Right, yeah.
Don't let them decide.
Yeah. Because
they are looking at all these different things that's influencing them, and they would go for the low-paying, but the easy stuff.
Yeah.
And just like you bring kids out for a football combine to see who can run the fastest, throw the furthest, and hit the hardest, you do the same thing with a child. You can evaluate that child and see what area of the industry was mechanical, liberal arts, or whatever, that they would be more apt to do well in. And you compare that to what's in demand. And you direct them into those areas. Let me give you an example. Blacks make up 11 to 13% of the population. Asians only make up 5.6% of the population. Okay, when it comes down to high-paying fields like pharmaceutical science, blacks, you only have 7% of the pharmaceutical scientists in this country are black, who make up 11 to 13% of the population. That's about 22,000. It should be about 47,000. But Asians, who only make up 5.6% of the population, have 20.2% of the pharmacist jobs, are anywhere from 64 to 69,000 that's working in there. That's a big difference.
Yeah.
And the average pay is well over $100,000, $125,000. That needs to change. And the only way that you can change that is that you got to start directing your kids into these hard subjects and support them along the way. Hey, a child should be doing 100 math problems every night.
Yeah.
If they're in the 1st grade, 1.1 is 2, 2 plus 2 is 3, and stuff like 100 problems as they go along throughout their educational career. And by the time they get to the 9th grade, they will be smart as a whip.
Yeah.
In math.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's true.
So, and another thing Trump said, he said these immigrants that's here, that's working in these professions where you can't find Americans, It's going to train Americans first by, they trying to do it by making school choice. And when you have when their visa get ready to expire, they got to go home. And the job is going to be there for an American. Black kids need to get ready for these things.
Yeah.
And when they do have the education, like I talk about the National Society of Black Engineers, at their conventions, 2017, 2018, 2019, the last one was in Detroit. Lockheed Martin hired 400 young STEM graduates right off the convention floor there in Detroit. There's 15,000 up there.
Wow.
They hired 400, plus the thousands of others that was being hired by other corporations. 2 years before that, ma'am, Northrop Grumman hired 400 2 years in a row.
Wow.
Those are defense contractors. Boeing are hired. Boeing is hiring the engineers, mechanical engineers, the industrial engineers. So those are jobs, good jobs. You starting off $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 in some of those professions.
I agree.
Yeah,
I just wanted to put that up. Trump is doing a good job. And here's another thing too. When people get up into those type of income brackets, guess what? Their whole interests change.
Yeah.
And they won't be voting for these Democratic policies.
Right.
That right there
Democrats
is.
want to tax the.
Go ahead.
Democrats want to tax the hell out of you.
Yeah.
They want you to get involved in stuff that you don't need to get involved in, like Obamacare and the mandate. The courts came out and said that mandate was illegal, unconstitutional. Hey, if you make your own money, you can buy your own insurance. And in the black community, blacks got to draw a line. Because you have some blacks in the black community amongst you that actually prey on you. They'll kill you. And you know that. I mean, let's be true. We know that. It ain't saying we hate folk. It's not saying you don't care about your nephews and nieces. But what I'm telling you, you got some in amongst us that will stab us as soon as we can. They break in your house, they carjack you, and all that other stuff. They make it terrible for your kids to even walk the streets. Your grandmother and grandfather can't come out after dinner and walk around the block and for exercise.
All depends on it all depends on the neighborhood that you live in. The neighborhood that my people. I mean, it depends on the neighborhood that you live in, because we could walk the block and walk to the store. It all depends on what neighborhood that your people put you in through their hard work and dedication as first themselves, then as parents coming together, being married, and then so it all depends on what that is, right? So we can agree that all people, we can say it's only one race, it's the human race, but they broke it up into 5. So all people within those races, if their parents haven't set them up by first setting themselves up into a nice environment, any of those groups of people can have that happening to them. Can we agree on that?
I agree with you, but we have to identify and say, look, we're not against such and such and such and such, but you can't be putting such and such in our neighborhood when they don't have the means to sustain where they're being put at. You put things in place to help people to elevate themselves and make themselves better. But hey, I can't live in Maxine Waters' neighborhood where she got a $4 million house.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't take somebody and move in a community where you can't have your cars jacked up on blocks sitting out in front of the house in the street. I mean, it's things like that. But anyway, you guys keep continue on. And one of the benefits of being married, you get to file. Married, filing jointly.
Yeah.
The first $24,000 of your income is tax exempt. Thanks to Trump.
Thanks to Trump. All right, so we gonna thank you for calling up, man. It's always a pleasure to hear from you, and keep on.
Yeah. I hope y'all have a beautiful marriage, man. Every time you leave out the house, y'all hug each other. You hear me?
Yeah, we do that. How about that?
Hug each other. Yeah. All right.
We appreciate you.
I'll talk to you later.
I'll talk to you later.
You have a happy New Year.
All right, people. So look, you see when we have great people calling in and talking. Look, all of a sudden something's up here. There's a picture there. You're taking pictures. All right, people. So number 3 on this list that was put together on this 10-point plan for African Americans put together by Trump and the pastors that people were talking about is number 3 is equal justice under the law.
Okay.
And then within it, I underlined some things so we can move through it faster. You can download this. This is on the internet. All you have to do is search the 10-point plan for African Americans, Donald Trump, and it'll come up, and then you'll be able to download it. Because you have to know, you have to read, and you have to not pretty much listen to what the media is saying, because they have a certain slant that they're doing it in. Not a 2-tiered system of justice. Equal justice also means the same rules for Wall Street.
Right.
So, within the makeup, they were throwing things in, I see, like the whole thing about Wall Street. That's cool. Right. We also, so number 4, tax reforms create jobs and lift up people and communities, right? Now within it, this is what I picked out of it. We will also have tax holidays for inner city investment.
Right.
A new tax incentives to get foreign companies to relocate in blighted American neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Foreign companies to that's an alarm. Mm-hmm. That's sending an alarm up to me, because you're talking about tax holidays for inner city investment. Who's getting the tax holiday, and who is the one doing the investment?
Because I know they had talked about like corporations, like the
empowerment zones of the 90s, but they're calling them
who was this that came
else.
out? I can't remember which dealership, but a car dealership came out to Nevada, and they opened up a factory.
Oh yeah, so you're talking about Tesla.
Okay, and and then so they're talking about like car factories, whether it's Volkswagens or who is the Mercedes-Benz factory, like factories from other countries, bringing jobs and opening up the factories in the inner city.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they have to spell it out a little bit more, but I know in political speak, it has to be more generalization than actual pinpointing within the writing. Federal disaster designation for blighted communities in order to initiate the rebuilding of vital infrastructure, the demolishing of abandoned properties, and the increased presence of law enforcement. So that could be regentrification under a guise of something else, with law enforcement to keep the ones that the community. So I mean, you have to look at it now. You have to look at number 5, financial reforms to expand credit to support new job creation. What I got out of this: young African Americans can get credit to pursue their dreams in business and create jobs in their communities. Credit. Credit it also can be the doom of a person too, right? It's time for a 21st century Glass-Steagall, and as part of that, a priority on helping African American businesses get the credit they need. Social welfare workers to convert property assistance into repairable but forgivable microloans. Number 6, trade that works for American workers. We will put a 35% tax on their product before they ship it back into the United States. That's for companies who leave the United States. And so he put the tariffs on, and he also did that with the companies. So this was within the top 10 of this top 10 list for African Americans, right? So some of it's been plucked out because enough of the leading black and the black leaders and just the community itself did not take time to read it and then go in and sit down, because what politics is sitting down and ironing out and coming to a compromise without being compromised. Protection from illegal immigration. Number 7. We will restore the civil rights of African Americans, then they said Hispanic Americans and all Americans, by ending illegal immigration. Low-income African American workers. No group has been more economically harmed by decades of illegal immigration than low-income African American workers, right? So, I mean, these are things that you need to go into and look through, and we want you to go download this. Again, it's the printed out, the 10-point plan for African Americans put together by Trump and the pastors that were being ridiculed, right? Which comes to number 8. And Pasquale, he called up, right? And this is number 8. This is what we're looking at. This is what we're seeing and observing, right? Number 8. Black people are waking up to from the trance put on by empty words. The talking heads are no longer effective, and those who were affected by the Obama dream, example Al Sharpton, find their words falling on deaf ears. Right? So, you know, certain things that Obama said, but his thing was not for black people. Right? And just because he manifests as black didn't mean. I often look at it and I joke and I talk about how he killed. Well, I'm not joking about it, but I often say the way he did Gaddafi in Libya. Well, he's nothing. Well, he's from Kenya and his mother was from Kansas and he grew up in Hawaii. So he's half and half. He's not ADOS, Foundational Black American, here in this country, and then having mixed lineage. He's from a Kenyan and a white woman here in America. So we're looking at a warlord because he did blow and kill things up at the behest of Hillary. I mean, so this is true. This is true. Number 9. Trump acts on situations which make him appear strong versus Obama, 44, who, when faced with obstruction, acted genteel instead of acting like a strong man, right? But if it was a black situation, Obama could scold the hell out of the black people.
Like he did Kanye West. And what college did he go to when he scolded? Was it Morehouse, I believe? And he scolded the students, and this is this was his commencement speech, you know, scolding these young black
talking about men. You got to go out here and be responsible fathers, and I mean, but you could say that, but you couldn't say that because, you know, the first people who were leaving people behind was the slave masters. They was leaving a lot of kids behind. They never took responsibility for that. That's part of what reparations is about. You got to pay for what you did. The European whites, however, when you go through, they claimed their children and gave them part of their, you know, part of their lands and things like that. They didn't do this here in America. So if you want to go back, let's go back and scold the original deadbeat dads. Right? So he could scold and act tough, but when it came to people who were obstructors, he acted genteel and let's work together and
he should have been scolding that man that told him, that called him a lie.
He should have scolded him right
there. Instead of scolding Kanye West.
He could have called the sergeant at arms and had him escorted out of the chamber, and anybody else who wanted to go with him.
Let them try that with Trump. That's not going to work.
I mean, they can try to applaud, and Trump just sits there, right? Number 2, he sits there and he laughs because he says, "You have no power."
But they don't, call him a liar.
That's true. That's true. Number 10. Blacks are going to vote within the 35 to 40% margins of poll averaging. This is my prediction on it, right? Blacks are poised to make the jump back to the party of MLK, or they are going to the Leaver to pull the lever as independents.
Okay.
That they're going to be leaving the Democrat Party because the Democrat Party is about illegal immigration, which immigration, Barbara Jordan told us in the 90s, harms black people. Right. And the party that you have voted for 99% of the time is not for you, and they think that the people who they are going to vote for, who they are helping to come into this country, will vote for them, but they're going to vote Republican because Republicans appear to have everything, right? Wow. So
that sounds like an abusive relationship.
It sounds like an abusive relationship. So that's why that's the top 10. But let me add these few things here. Stock market is going up. Okay. Jobs are up. Right. Gas is only 50 cents higher than when Obama finished his. Obama was at $2.43. Okay. Right here. Now, someplace else it could be lower, or in California it could have been higher. But gas prices are down. It said $2.99 here. Some are $2.97. Okay. You know what I mean? So gas prices are low. Okay. People are tired. Okay. People are tired, and people are trying to get it. Usually people get it under a Republican presidency. They usually get it under that because they cut the taxes and they do all that. So that's what they're looking at. So people are looking at their pocketbooks. Right? And if the Democrats can't come any better, like I said, we have never voted Republican ever. Right. But we're looking at this, but I can't say that I will vote Republican, vote for Donald Trump, because we have some things to discuss in this, and then next week we have T. West coming on. Yeah, and he has his African American national political agenda. Yes, which they're sitting down. He's sitting down. Afro Synergy News and his organizations are sitting down with Trump and doing what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to negotiate in politics, not put up an embargo and put up a wall. Right. Unless you're trying to put up a wall to stop discussion, right? So we're going to be talking about that, but it's certain things, because I still remember that the European speaks with forked tongue. Yeah. And so that's where we'll leave that. So that is the top 10 reasons, right? Why Trump is going to be reelected. Top
10 reasons why the Democrats should get their act together.
Actually, I should relabel it the top 10 reasons why the Democrats will lose the presidency in 2020. Again. That's why I should say, right? But look, okay, people. So now we come to our first review of the night, right? Yep. We come to our first review of the night, and let me put this down right here. Bring this up right here. So we're on our first review of the night, right?
The Grudge.
Which is The Grudge. We have two reviews tonight. We have The Grudge and Little Women, but we're going to start with The Grudge. Okay. Right. The Grudge. Okay. I want to just tell you unequivocally, to the point, it's trash. The Grudge is trash. Save your money. I laughed at the end. And when I laughed, the rest of the audience started laughing. It was a laugh fest, especially at the end. What happens at the end will have you laughing, and then it cuts to the front of the house, and then they roll the credits, and you're sitting there like,
waiting for more.
And then they play the music and stuff. You hear some screaming, then it stops. Then they roll the credits, and you hear the music, and then I'm like, and everybody else started laughing, because that was the reaction you get. Yeah. It is, in my opinion, the film review opinion, trash. Yeah. I laughed at the end. A bunch of jump horror scenes. Yeah. Scenes that'll make you jump in your seats, but after a while that stopped working. Because, not that that's old, but the filmmakers relied on that trope too much.
A lot. I mean, because every time they showed the tub, you knew that something was coming out of
something
it.
was coming out of it. Right.
Just tired.
It wouldn't be wise to say it was made for the Generation Zers, right?
Now this is supposed to be a horror film.
Right. It's not wise to say it was made for them or the millennials, right? Because the classic horror plays on TV, so they see what good horror is.
Right.
It relied on the hand in the hair.
Yeah.
Which the original Grudge had done that. They relied on the hand in the hair.
So many other films are starting to do that.
Yeah. And they do it better. Right. I thought the only way that would be more horrifying is the whole arm hung out of the back of his head, and he was like, "What?" That's the only way that works. It's expected
now in the horror.
Yeah,
in the shower scenes.
It's expected. Now, if the Grudge had come in there, pulled the thing back and went, and disintegrated them or something, then we'd be, oh man, that's a cross between Hitchcock and The Grudge. Okay, that's new, but just having the hand come out, that wasn't scary. It was slow.
Very.
Slower than the original Grudge, which had you not only jumping, but feeling your spine tingling.
Yeah.
The original was as great as The Ring. Now The Ring, the original Ring, it had people having nightmares. Who remembers The Ring? That had people having nightmares. I know we were sitting up we came home and we were sitting there and we were laying in there. I'm thinking about The Grudge all night. I couldn't get a good night's sleep. Not The Grudge, but The Ring.
The Ring, yeah.
I mean, it was. I said, why come he just didn't kick him back into the TV? Now that cannot work. They need to come with something else because that's been seen, heard, recognized, and appreciated. Right now, the cast.
Yeah.
Andrea Riseborough, that's her name. Andrea Riseborough, Detective Muldoon. That's who she played. Joe Chow, Peter Spencer, Betty Glippin, Nina Spencer, Damien Bitcher, Goodman, Junko Bailey is the Kayoko Ghost, Lynn Shy, Faith, I can't read my writing because it's so small now. I've got good. She did the thing in there where she was cutting off her fingers. We've seen that before. That one. Tara Westwood, Fauna Landers, David L. Brown, Sean Landers, Zoe Fish, Melinda Landers. Now, Zoe Fish. That's the little girl.
The little girl, okay.
The little girl is stand out in her acting.
Yeah, she did.
She delivers that standing there with that deadpan stare, and then the different things that was happening to her, well, you just have to see that if you're going to see it. Who?
Jackie Weaver.
Oh yes, Jackie Weaver as the term life ender,
as well as comic relief.
Yeah, her face was like.
Told it
classic.
all. Her acting was great.
The film is a linear film. It cuts between 2004 and 2007, non-linear filmmaking. Like I said before, Zoe Fish, standout. The little girl can act, right?
She can.
Rating for The Grudge 2020. Rating. What's your rating? What's your rating for The Grudge?
Although Jackie Weaver did an excellent job.
And the little girl will stand out.
And the little girl. I would give it maybe a 3.
Oh, you were kinder than me because after I went through everything.
I almost went 4, but...
No, after I went through everything, I gave it a 2.
Okay.
It is not a horror movie, right? Like when you're used to seeing... movies like Halloween, and every time they come out, they seem to top themselves. There was the Rob Zombie versions that were just really brutal, and then this last one came out. Other than getting over the fact that this man still has superhuman strength, and he's at least 60 or 70 under the mask, right? Yeah. Other than that, it is believable what he did, and it was like, oh my, it's more like a trip fest. This was not enjoyable though as a trip fest, right? You see two different ghosts. You see the ghost. I want to show you something. I mean, what are we showing?
And it took a while for the story to kick off.
To even kick.
And then they tried to make it like a suspense.
Like a suspense
type. I mean, it was just crazy. It was just not a horror film.
Not a horror film. So that's a 2. So that's that. Now we move to a movie of substance, up for Golden Globe Awards, and we believe it will see Oscars. We're talking about Little Women.
Yes. Classic.
Director Greta Gerwig.
Yeah.
Original writer of the book, Louise May Alcott. Right. You know, it's based on the book. Right. Starring Saoirse Ronan as Jo March.
Right.
Also, you can see her in Queen of Scots.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Queen of Scots. Now, she's a Irish American that has dual citizenship, still in Ireland. You know, she was born here, and then they go back and forth between here and Ireland. She was born in the Bronx.
Yeah, that's what it's saying.
In the Bronx, New York, people, right? So they go back and forth. There is no reason for her ever to be racist. There's no reason for her ever to be racist, ever.
Not that
never,
she
never.
said anything.
No, not that she said anything, but there's no need for her to be racist. And hope of her handlers and she hears this. There's no need for her to be racist because people are liking her of all different groups of people, right? So she's good, right? And then we have Emma Watson as Meg March. Right. And who else we have?
Timothy, is it Chalamet? Plays Laurie from the film with Beautiful Boy.
And then we have Florence Pugh, Amy March.
Yeah, she did really good. She was standout too.
She's breakthrough. Yeah. She's breakthrough on this role. Yeah. She should get supporting actress.
Yeah. Meryl Streep did a great job.
Excellent job.
As Aunt March.
That's right.
Yeah.
Lissa.
Is it Scallon?
Yeah, I can't even read my own writing.
Beth
March. Beth March.
Yeah, she played Beth March. And then Laura Dern, she did an excellent job too.
Marmee March.
Yeah, the mother.
Bob Odenkirk as Father March.
Yeah, he did really good.
Right, coming back home from the war.
Right.
Right. If you haven't seen Meryl Streep, what makes her the greatest actor, you got to see The Laundromat. That's on, what is that on?
Netflix.
Netflix. You have to see that. Okay, Little Women. A story of 4 girls coming of age during the Civil War and how the change with diverging interests affect their relationships in and out of the family, right? Now, I didn't get a chance to research if the theme in the book was the Confederate soldiers, because most of those books written back then had a slant towards the Confederate soldier, but this version has the slant towards the Union Army, right? And so I would have to go back and research. That's the one thing that I didn't research, and we have to find that out. Rowan's Jo March is the writer of the family, and we see as the story opens her selling her first work to a publisher, and the film moves from there, from the cinematography of her running in the street with the tracking shots. It keeps your interest, and it moves to the family. But the cinematography is a 10, the costuming is a 10, the plot through line is a 10, non-linear, right? Dialogue is 10, acting, there were tears falling, 10, location set design 10, lighting was and is a 10. What would you rate it overall?
Overall, sitting in the theater, first of all, it was a nice crowd.
Nice crowd. Yeah, nice crowd for it.
And
it was like really the last 2 days of it, right?
People.
But it's going to go back into the theater once it gets its Golden Globes and things,
And so growing up, you know, learning, knowing about the book and seeing the various versions of films, on Turner Movie Classics, American Movie Classics. Every year you see Little Women, and I've seen those films, right, on television. But this version, wow, they did a really great job. I felt it's universal because, well, you said the same thing too. Like watching that film reminded me of, first of all, it's a family full of women, right? So you see them growing together from girls from little women to actual women, right?
Right.
And then so having, a sister and tons of female cousins and a close friend who is like a sister, she's practically my sister, and just growing up in that atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
That film reminded me of the relationships that I have with the women in my life, right? So they did an excellent job, because it's like the issues that they dealt with are the issues that we as women deal with today.
Mm-hmm.
So they did a great job with that. And then I love that within that world, it was the actual truth. It was multicultural, right?
Yeah.
So you see tons of black people, in the film, as well as like other groups of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about too how your mom read the book.
Right, and it was one of her favorite books.
Right.
And so, speaking of that, I spoke to two white women. One was older than the other. They were both older.
Right.
Who saw the film at the same time we did, and I asked how they liked the film.
Right.
The older woman said one woman said she hadn't read the book. The other said she did read the book, and she said she didn't like she didn't know what it was, but it's called non-linear storytelling, where it jumped from the woman. Basically, it was flashbacks in her mind of what had happened while they were young, right? It starts out as she's an adult, and then it goes back to flashing back to introduce you to each character. Beautifully done, but in books it's straight linear. It goes from beginning to end. So she didn't quite dig that, but she liked the film, and she also informed me that many of the women's issues that is in the film is not
in the book.
Not in the book, that it plays differently in the book. And I asked her, I said, so they did that for this era that we're in now with women, Me Too and all that, and she was like, yes. So I mean, that was a good experience to hear from someone who read the book. Like my mom read the book. She loved the book, Little Women. So
do you think, like, as a man, because when I watched the film, because the audience was multicultural, and you had tons of men and women, right? So I would think, like, as a man, men could relate to the relationships of the sisters as well, because it was about closeness amongst the family. It was about community. It was about relationships amongst siblings, as well as the relationships with, your parents and friendships. It like had it all. It had with betrayal. It had romance, love. It had
Scarlet Fever.
Yeah, I mean, so it did. I mean, it was a combination of everything.
It had everything.
But I would think, like, it
didn't have rape in it though, so that was good. That was good.
But I would think, like, even as a man, I think a man, well, because there was plenty of men in the theater who enjoyed the film, but men, I would believe, could see themselves in their relationships with
their brothers
and uncles and fathers and friends, because the film is really about relationships, right? And they did like an excellent job.
So what would you rate?
Excellent job. I would definitely give it a 10 because of, well, first of all, the acting is superb, right? And it was a period piece. So, but the clothing and the jewelry, the superb, right? It was so stylish, right? And it just looked really nice, really, really polished. Like they captured like everything that was like in the book or like in the previous films that had been done over the years, like the way they captured like the food, the setup of everything in a home, like outside the home, they captured that time period beautifully. Just well done, visually beautiful, like outside. Coming from the Midwest, you see the change of seasons and the beautiful trees and the colors and the fall and everything. Like they captured all of that in the film as well. So it's just beautiful. It was just well done. The music was well placed. Definitely a 10. And I would see the movie again because it's a really, really, really good film.
Yeah, it is a 10, people.
Yeah.
So it is worth seeing. You will enjoy it.
Oh.
That is Little Women. Now, people, we have a new segment because 2020 is a lot of movies coming out, right? A lot of new movies coming out. So we're getting ready to break through and check out some of the new trailers that are happening, right?
Right.
Some of the new trailers are happening, and so we're going to go on ahead and check that out. So we're going to go on ahead and check that out, and we found out that that's not going to happen.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to check this out. We're going to go through and we're going to talk about the various trailers. Now, this first one is called Briar Patch, right?
Okay.
And so we're going to go through it and check it out.
Okay.
So as Briar Patch kicks off,
It's starring Dawson, Rosario Dawson.
Rosario Dawson, that's right. So as you see, this trailer, what's so good about this trailer, first of all, it tells you that it's a winner of a film festival, right? And then it really sets up what's getting ready to happen in the story that you're going to be watching. That's what I like about it.
I believe this is going to be on, is it USA?
USA. That's exactly right. And we like to say that, under federal law, you can use segments out of film for critique, and that's exactly what we're doing right now with this. And as you see, we have the FBI with the description of it, so we shouldn't have any more difficulty after that. So this right here, it really lays out. So pretty much the story is about her trying to find out who killed her sister, and along within that process, she's gonna meet a whole bunch of different cast of characters, some friends, some foe. So it's gonna be the hero's journey, and she's also returning, right? And if you know the story of Brer Rabbit and the Tar Baby, and there was Brer Fox and Brer Bear, and Brer Fox had been trying to catch Brer Rabbit all the time, so they constructed this Tar Baby, right? And so Brer Rabbit is happy. Now he say, "How you doing, neighbor?" And the Tar Baby is just sitting there, so he keeps saying, "How you do?" He said, "If you don't say how you doing, I'll punch you on your face." So he punches this. Now people feel that is racist because the Tar Baby looks like a black baby, so it's called Briar Patch because they don't realize that she actually comes from this city, and it's gonna be on USA. Right, and that's the whole metaphor. That's why it's called Briar Patch, right? So this one right here that's coming up next
It'll be on AMC.
On AMC, and it stars Andre Benjamin, right? He's one of the people that they hire, one of the scientists that they hire, right? And so it's another one that's beautifully laid out. It lets you see, and it gives you anticipation, right? Anticipation on what is going to happen. And the name of the show is Dispatches from Elsewhere.
We'll have to watch that because most of us know him as Andre 3000 from Outkast.
Now this right here, people.
Oh, 50 Cent.
That's right, 50 Cent, right? Has this piece on, and this is a cartoon that has been getting traction. It's called The Trill League, and 50 Cent is bringing it to television in a cartoon. beautifully done. Now this is another 50 Cent production coming on ABC, right? It's called For Life, right? And it's about a man who is wrongly convicted of a crime, and he finds a loophole in the law so that he can practice law to not only free people who deserve to be innocent, but also find a way to free himself. So it's beautifully set up. It shows you the dynamic of, through flashback, that he had a beautiful life, and then somehow something is planted on him in a club, if that's how the story goes. And he has to find his way back home because there's a dramatic need. So within this trailer right here, it tells you what happens to him, and it tells you his dramatic need to do what he does, right? Beautifully laid out. It's just great. And then you see the corrupt prosecutors who are trying to find a way to put a quote unquote monkey wrench into his works to stop him from being successful, to find himself free. For whatever reason it is, most likely they have something to do with the coca that he was found with, and they want to make sure that he stays the fall guy. I'm almost sure of it as I look at it, right? So this is a good show. It's going to be a good show on ABC.
Speaking of 50 Cent, we'll be watching Power tonight.
Yeah, we'll be watching Power tonight, right? Some people put some spoilers up, but we won't even talk about that because it's going to see it, right? So again, this one is called
For Life.
For Life.
Yes.
That's right. And so he's doing what he does for life because he's in for life. Right. And so he's going to find his way out to live
while helping others.
His life while helping others. Go live your life.
On ABC.
That's right. It's a good one.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. For Life. ABC. Tuesdays. All right, people. So this next one sent chills down my spine. This is Jennifer Hudson, people.
Yes.
And she is playing the Queen of Soul in a biopic called A Little Respect. Oh, we're off on timing, but you get it. That's what it's called, and it's coming. It's coming. They said it's coming in October, right? October 2020. Respect. So you definitely have to support this one in theaters 2020. Okay, now people, this one is coming up soon. Yeah. We may be reviewing this, if I believe, we might be reviewing it sooner than we think, maybe in a week or two.
Yeah, because I believe it's January 11th.
The 7th.
The 11th it comes out?
The 11th? Okay, I thought it was 17th. But either way, people, Bad Boys 3.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The first trailer they put out on this last year, we were like, I don't know, but the new trailer they put out, I guess they were putting out something to tease people,
You're right? January 17th.
Right, so they were putting out a trailer to tease people, and it was kind of flat, we thought, in the theater. I said, they're going to have to come with a new trailer.
With this new trailer? Lots better.
With the action, and they introducing you to where they are now, right? And they introduce you to the new team,
right?
You know, that they are reluctant to work with because they look like a boy band plus a girl, right? So I mean, it's well put together. It has the right temperature in it with the right comedy. Because I thought the whole thing about we're black and we're police officers, I thought that fell flat. That always falls flat in theater. Everybody just sits there, but then there's another scene that comes after it that's more funny. Yeah. Especially the closing scene when he talks about the car.
Yeah.
Right? Which is coming up right now.
The audience is laughing.
The audience laugh at that, but they don't pretty much laugh at the other one. It falls flat. And hopefully that's just the cut of it for the trailer, but when you see it, it has more context, and then people will laugh. Yep, Will Smith, Martin Lawrence. Right?
Yeah.
I wonder if what's her name is going to make an appearance in here as the sister again.
Oh, Gabrielle.
Yeah, Gabrielle Union. She's going to make an appearance. She should have family. Yeah. Maybe they'll have her husband be Dwayne Wade, he'll make a cameo, and then they're like, oh, you married and stuff, and then she won't be doing Google eyes to Will anymore because she's fully married. So these trailers are good. Bad Boys for Life.
Yes.
Just like for life. So remember that, people. For life is a term, right? She always knows. All right, people. Now this, The Gentleman. This is coming out soon. I believe it's the 20-something of January. I could be wrong about that, but this is Matthew McConaughey. Now, for those who haven't seen Matthew McConaughey in film, I don't know why you wouldn't, but
great actor.
The Lincoln Lawyer, great film. That was an independent that he financed.
Dallas Buyers Club,
well worth seeing. But this film is going to be one of these ensemble cast pictures. And I'm glad that it is focused on dealing with another group of people other than black people as the fall people, as the fall guys. We're moving on up in film, right?
Director is Guy Ritchie.
Guy Ritchie, right?
Yeah, he makes really great films.
He makes great films, right? The angles on this, the cinematography is great. Showing from using these POVs, using POVs from the person in the trunk. January 24th, I was right? All right, people, this right here. Antebellum. Starring none other than, what's her name? Janelle Monáe.
Yes.
It's from the makers of Get Out and Us.
Yes.
And it's some kind of dimensional trip where she's a successful person and they go, I don't know what city they're in, it's not for sure telling you, but it's somewhere in the South, and somehow wires get crossed and she gets thrown into this other dimension where she is in antebellum slavery era, and she's got to figure her way out of this. That would be horrifying, and especially in the times that we are in right now, it is something. 2020, right? All right, this, people. This right here, people, is a rework of a classic that used to come on television in reruns. It used to come on ABC, then it came on in reruns. This is a remake of a film called Fantasy Island, and you see who it is produced by Blumhouse, which is the horror house. Get Out and Halloween, right? So now look.
Fantasy Island was one of my favorite shows. I was excited.
So this right here is a twist on a classic and a favorite, right?
A huge twist.
A huge twist, right? So as you watch this, you start to see some things like this guy. He says he's Mr. Rourke, right? But then you see the assistant, which would be, I guess, Tattoo. She seems to be doing more of the speaking like Mr. Rourke would to the guests. And you see this, right? And so you start to see, look, so as she's talking, she tells you what's going on. Your life is going to change forever. Something like that, she said. Right? And she's like Mr. Rourke right here.
Yes.
As she walks out the scene. But as you see, these fantasies come to life, and I guess people are more vindictive because, back in the day on Fantasy Island, they wanted to find their lost loves or wanted to correct the wrong that happened while they were on the battlefield or something. But this right here seems to be something where they're trying to really put some kick butt on there, and they don't really realize that this is going to come to full fruition, and it looks like it's going to be a battle for survival type thing.
Michael Pena is playing Mr. Rourke, and Parisa Fitz-Henley is playing Tattoo.
Right. So this right here, this Fantasy Island is not your grandparents' Fantasy Island, right? This is something new, and thus people who like Fantasy Island, like we did, we're definitely out.
It's the Fantasy Island with a remix.
It's a remix, Fantasy Island. That's
horror film style.
Horror film, right?
Right.
Valentine's Day, right? All right, people. Now this one, people have been waiting for this since Suicide Squad. Right? I believe it's yes. Since Suicide Squad. And this one is called Birds of Prey. It's a Harley Quinn film. She broke up with the Joker, and she's found out that there is a bunch of female people, a bunch of females, women who are tired of being abused and taken advantage of, and they become the, from what I can tell, the birds of prey.
Right. Starring Margot Robbie.
Margot Robbie. And guess who Margot Robbie got her, well, she's been in other films, but her real big break came with Will Smith.
Right. Oh yeah, that was a really great film.
Right. And so Margot Robbie is in this.
Journey Smollett is also
she's in the film.
Rosie Perez.
Yeah. So I mean, this is going to be a great piece to watch.
Ewan McGregor.
Yeah. He's gonna be in it. Right. So he's playing the villain, I suppose. Yeah. Her, because she's a villain too, though. But he's the antagonist of her protagonist, because she's the star of this picture.
Stephen Williams is also in it. He played the lieutenant on 21 Jump Street.
The
original 21 Jump Street.
Right. So for all the people who are looking for something that makes sense for a powerful female lead in this time of Me Too and Time's Up, this is believable and I believe, right? And it's such a great character.
I'm sure it's gonna be funny because her character is hilarious.
Yeah, this is funny right here. Yeah. So it's worth seeing. February 2020.
She did great in Suicide Squad. So.
Now this one right here, people, is going to be a suspense thriller horror type film. And it is called The Invisible Man. And what it is this guy is rich, but he's somewhat old, and his woman wants to get away from him. So somehow he seems to, by the trailer,
make yourself invisible.
Well, fake his own death, and tells her that she can have $5.something million if she can prove herself not to be mentally capable to have the money, not be insane. And so he's somehow found a way to be invisible, and all of this is happening, and we have to see her come through it mentally unscathed to be able to take this money home. So she has to find a way, it looks like. So this is going to be a good suspense horror film. It's going to be some more gore, because they pretty much are setting up the story for you, so it's no mystery. Except for he's not the Invisible Man of old that was out to right the wrong of his someone trying to kill him.
This is definitely another remix.
This is definitely a remix where he is out to be a villain. To kill or try to make insane the woman who he professed to love at one time or another, right? So I mean, it's real interesting stuff going on here. We have
He's a stalker.
He is a stalker. Yes, he is, right? So all these trailers,
you know what? That movie reminds me of the lyrics in that Police song that I'll be watching.
Oh, every step you take. It's February, right?
Yep.
So all this is coming out in February during Black History Month. I guess they're making it Black Horror Suspense Month too, right? So it's really something, right? So as we come up to the end, next week we're going to have more trailers to watch, right? Because we're coming down to the end of the show and we have to wrap it up, right? So we want to let you know that we have enjoyed producing this show for you tonight. We had a call-in, we had the trailers, we talked about the top 10 reasons why Trump is going to be reelected.
Right.
We hit all that. And in the closing moments of the show, people, as we close down, as we finish, right?
Before we wrap up, in The Invisible Man, Aldous Hodge from Straight Outta Compton, who was this character in Straight Outta Compton? Was it Ren?
Yes, he was MC Ren.
Yeah,
yes, he was.
He's also starring in The Invisible Man also. But tonight was a great show.
Great show. Listen, people.
Yeah.
We want to let you know that
maybe we can show the rest of the
trailers next
week. Yeah.
Right. So listen, people. We have the only $10 TFR ad special where you're actually able to come on, be interviewed, talk about your product. We review your film, review your product, review your book.
Right.
Talk to you. You are seen, heard, recognized.
Right.
You get a brand new audience. We're seen on Spotify,
right,
Apple Podcasts,
right,
Google Play,
right,
and iHeartRadio, Podcast Addict. We're on YouTube, right, Vimeo. Make sure that you ring the bell, right, and you subscribe to YouTube right now. Right. Ring the bell, subscribe to YouTube, right, push the like button, right, say the film review is what we like. Every time we watch us on any of our platforms, right, or listen to us, give the thumbs up, subscribe to the show, and we will make sure that you are seen, heard, recognized, and appreciated right here on this platform, the Film Review.
Right.
We are the husband and wife team. I'm Crazy D,
Tracey,
and we review movies, music, culture, politics, and society, right, and we will see you next week. Yes, we will see you next week on the Film Review. Where am I? Where am I? There we go. Film Review. The Film Review. Movies, music, culture, politics, society podcast. Interviews, movie reviews, and more. Live Sundays at 5:30 p.m. on Facebook at Crazon Dion.
Hey everybody, this is Lunell, the original bad girl of comedy. I'm here at the Link Promenade in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada, and you're watching the Film Review.